Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to Hanging Out with Successful Bar Exam Takers. And I have the pleasure today of being with Mike McKone, who just found out that he passed the Colorado Uniform Bar Exam Administration in July 2017. Welcome, Mike, and congratulations.
Good morning, and thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting, isn't it?
It is. Yes, I watched all those podcasts of the successful bar takers and thought I would like to be in that spot, and here I am.
And here you are. It's so cool. You've got a really great story because, at least as I understand the backstory, it's been about 30 some years since you had taken a bar exam. Is that right?
32. I had to get the calculator out to make sure that was accurate.
And folks, that's an HP. That's an old calculator he just showed you. just for those of you that don't know, that's the way calculators used to look. But you were licensed in Hawaii and California, right? Is that correct?
Correct. I graduated in '85, took the Hawaii bar, and then the year later took the California bar in 1986. So it's been 31 years since my last bar exam.
Okay.
And decided to take the Colorado.
Okay, so you've just been moving further east is what's happening.
That's slowly, yes.
Okay. Now, I have a particular affinity for the Colorado bar, having been born and raised in Denver and having all of my family as members of the bar there. And I didn't want to put any pressure on you when you were studying, but I do want you to know that we have a virtually unbroken pass rate in Colorado over the last few years of people who've come in and taken it. I'm thinking about Amanda Sawyer and Blake Glemming, Mike Lee. I mean, we've got a bunch of folks. So congratulations. Welcome to the club.
I'm glad you're telling that to me now.
Right. So now I want to share with our audience a story here. This is kind of more I'm a stupid guy story. But we have on our Facebook page a section of reviews. And I periodically go in and look at it and kind of go, what am I going to see? And there was this great review we got a few months ago. And the review came from somebody named Chris Angelillo.
Yeah, my wife.
And I'm reading it. I'm thinking, this is an awesome review. But I don't know who Chris Angelillo is. So I contacted our Facebook manager, Kelly Perkins, and I said, Kelly, there's this great review of our course. Who's this Chris person? And she said, oh, that's Mike. I said, no, it says Chris. She said, no, it's Mike. I said, no, really? We went back and forth. Finally, she said, it's his cover. So I've now blown your cover on Facebook, I suppose. But you were posting under your wife's Facebook account. Is that right?
Correct. I don't have a Facebook, and so I use hers.
Okay. So here's the really cool part. This guy has real nerve. He wrote a great review of the course before he passed the bar. And I think that, so I just want to say thank you. That showed a lot of resolve, a lot of, it just made me feel really good. So I'm glad that we could reward your faith in us by passing. But I'd like to kind of back up and ask you to just sort of tell our audience a little bit about what led you after all these years to be in Colorado and to take the bar and what that process was like for you to kind of bring yourself into that mindset of, I'm going to take another bar exam.
Well, over the last several years, my son was going to college at the Air Force Academy, and we would visit Colorado several times a year and fell in love with the area. And thought, wouldn't it be nice to move to Colorado Springs? But being a California attorney where there's no reciprocity, I would have to take a bar exam, and that's rather daunting. But at some point I decided, let's try it. And I got on YouTube and looked up bar review. And I ended up seeing your smiling face in a YouTube video and saw a couple of the videos and thought, this guy he sounds like somebody that knows what he's talking about. And I got hooked up with Celebration Bar Review way back in March.
Okay.
For the July exam.
Right. And what did your family think about the idea of you sitting for another bar exam?
Well, my wife is all for it. She is very interested in moving to Colorado. But my parents and family here in California, not so much. They're not anxious to have their son move away or brother. But we anticipate, I'm 58 and I've got another at least 10, 15 years of lawyer work ahead of me and then retirement. So we want to move to that area of the country. And so off we go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. I led a privileged childhood, and I summered at the Broadmoor every year. That's where we stayed all summer in Colorado Springs. So
You
yeah,
poor child.
yeah, it was a hard life I led. In any event, so okay, so you announced to the fam that you're gonna sit for a bar exam, and you're still in active practice, correct?
Correct. Very active practice.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think one of the questions that people often ask is how can you balance a family, a practice, and studying for the bar, particularly when it's been a long time since you've been back in that academic environment? What was that like for you, Mike?
Well, my children have moved out of the house, so there's no kids in the house. My wife is very supportive of it, and starting off with the studying, it was maybe 10 to 15 hours per week, so it wasn't overwhelming.
Hmm.
It didn't really get ratcheted up until perhaps Memorial Day, and then. But my family has been supportive. Even the family that is not so thrilled with me moving to Colorado, they're still ultimately supportive.
Okay.
Uh,
And
so
how did you schedule your week? I mean, what did a week look like for you in terms of where you put your studies in?
typically, I would study for about an hour in the morning, generally passive studying. I would listen on my headphones to your lecture as I went for a walk down along the bike trail. So I'd get an hour in the morning of easy study. Maybe at lunch, I would do another hour of listening to lecture or reviewing the outlines, and then maybe 2 or 3 hours in the evening, and that was probably 5 days a week.
Okay.
That was from March, April, and May, the first 3 months,
Okay.
and
So
I
you,
got through
you, you
syllabus
gradually
by
ramped up then. So you after that period you got more
yeah.
intense.
I finished the syllabus, or at least the part of where you're done with the review. Um, you had suggested July 10th is the date to hit, and I did that, I think, Memorial Day weekend. So I had 2 months
Right.
to just now review.
Okay. Now, you chose our basic coaching course, so
Right.
we were not reviewing your work. And a question that I get from people sometimes is, well, can you pass with the basic coaching? The obvious answer is yes, you can. What was that like for you to be doing that work, listening to the lectures, reading the sample answers, and studying, on your own? But did you feel disconnected in any way?
No, actually not. And back in '85 when I was first taking the bar exam, all my friends were taking the exam as well. So there was quite a community of people. This time, I don't know anybody else taking the exam except who I've met through Celebration. So it was a huge help to have the meetings with Kelly, the coaching sessions,
Mm-hmm.
to just meet other people going through the same experience and feel that there are others out there. And so through this process, there's a number of names of people that I'm familiar with. I've never met personally, but
Yeah.
I feel very connected to them. So that was a huge help, and that's a big aspect to your bar review course is that sense of community that you get very quickly. Kelly, there isn't anybody more friendly than Kelly and
I agree.
supportive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the groups of people that were on there were all extremely supportive. And then when I posted that I had passed, there's 15, 20 people all gave me
Yeah.
congratulations.
Yeah.
So that just shows that there's a lot of support.
There is. And for those of you that don't know, what Mike's talking about is that we offer our students a weekly or twice weekly group coaching call. And it's moderated by one of our staff members, Kelly Perkins, who is fabulous. She's the good cop. Apparently, I'm the bad cop, and but she really is great at fostering a sense of community and accountability and encouragement for people in the group. And you were a very active participant in that group, I know. And I know there were a lot of people rooting for your success, just as you've been rooting for other people's success as results are starting to roll in off of this exam. One of the nice things about our group is that people who've passed stay in the group to help others, and I'm looking forward to you being one of those folks that does that.
Oh, absolutely. I miss those meetings, and I do miss the Friday afternoons that you put on.
Right.
I would listen. Usually, I'm traveling on that day from one office to another, and I would stop anywhere like a McDonald's and plug in and listen to you. Go through that hour. I wrote a number of questions to you that some of them were brilliant questions, and other ones were just
Sure.
stupid.
Well, I answered them all, because that's just who I am. That was cool. So, what for you was the hardest part of studying again? Was there anything in particular that really was a particular challenge coming back in and taking this exam?
Well, I haven't seen con law, property, secured transactions since I graduated. Yeah,
Okay.
and so that was all very much brand new type information for me. It was good to see that there's still black acre, there's still white acre in property. That hasn't changed. But I was really starting almost from scratch with a lot of those subjects.
Hmm.
So that was difficult. But again, with your lectures and the review material, and I would have to stress really the lectures more than the review material because I guess I learned audibly. I didn't realize that, but listening to your lectures over and over helped a lot. But and got me through all the subjects. I kicked myself at the amount of time I spent on corporations, not to have it on, and it didn't even show up on the test. So
Right.
I
Right.
guess that's the way it goes.
Yeah, the Uniform Bar Exam has got 6 essays, the performance test, and the MBE, and the essays are drawn from 14 subjects. So you have to prepare for a wide variety of subjects, and then you get whatever they give you. So it's a 30-minute essay. That's different than Hawaii or California's essays had been. Was it a challenge for you to adjust, or had it been so many years since you'd taken the exam that it was like, as you say, starting from scratch?
It was a starting from scratch. Back in the 80s when I took the exam, I hand wrote the exams.
Yeah,
Very few people typed.
yeah,
Nobody had a computer, of
right,
course. And
right.
so this time around, yes, I had my Apple computer. And um, so that was just
Yeah.
different experience.
Yeah, back when you and I took the bar exam when dinosaurs roamed the earth, handwriting was it was the standard. Now, I did an interview with another Colorado bar taker last year who told a great story, being at the test center in Colorado,
Yeah.
and the second morning, she's sitting in the parking lot and she looks across at a car, and there's a guy in the car, and he's taking a very long toke out of his bong,
Yes.
because it's legal in Colorado to do that.
I,
Do
I
you have any of
thought,
those kinds of experiences? I just got to ask.
no, I didn't. But I do have to say that the exam site in Colorado is a event center that's kind of on the outskirts of town.
Yeah.
There is a hotel right there, of which 95% of the people staying were all exam takers. So it was a very nervous
Yeah.
group of people, and we would walk over to that exam site and take that. And when I checked out of that hotel, I was so glad to be gone and see it in my rearview mirror.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I didn't be doing that, although it could have been.
Well, Colorado is unique in many, many regards. So the you go to the exam. It's been a long time since you've taken a test, and a lot has changed. What did it feel like to be in the exam room after that many years and taking a bar?
I felt everything that I saw and did, I expected it to happen. There weren't any real surprises at all. After all the talking through the group coaching sessions, and I felt very well prepared when I walked in. So I knew it'd be a big, giant room, which it was, and that all the materials would be there. And there was this big clock with 3:01, and they would count down the last minute and then start. And that 3:01 is burned into my head.
Yeah.
But I do have to say I don't want to go off of your schedule on this, but that timing is really important because one of the aspects of this test and studying was once we were getting close to the exam, I took the 1991
Yeah.
February MBE practice exam.
That's correct.
That was an epiphany for me because I didn't have a clock in front of me when I was taking that test, and I realized about an hour in that I'd only done 25 questions. So or 20 questions. I was behind and I panicked. And that first 3-hour test in the morning, I did horrible on it. And I know that was a very big indicator of how you would do on the exam. And so that scared me.
Mm-hmm.
Really taught me a lesson to stay on top of time during the test. And once I stayed on time, my score went up quite a bit.
Yeah,
But
I think that's a good piece of advice. I think the other part of that that's implicit is you got to do practice questions. I think sometimes people think, well, I don't really need to do a full length test, or I don't need to do all the practice, but it made a difference for you, didn't it?
It did. I highly encourage everybody do the full practice test. Just
Yeah.
try to mimic it as close as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think getting that experience and just sort of knowing what that's going to be like kind of helps get you ready for the physical endurance of the 2 days of the test. It's a long 2 days, isn't it?
It is, and I think back in the old days, my attention span was better. I think I had an attention span that could withstand 3 hours of an examination period. But these days, my attention span's based on YouTube videos, and it's an hour long at best. And I remember Kelly mentioning that one of her challenges was attention span and being able to sit and concentrate for a long period of time. So practicing those exact exams is important.
Yeah. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. All right. So anyway, yeah, it definitely makes a difference. So you go through the 2 days of the exam. You hightail out of the hotel. You head back to California. And now you've got this waiting period. Mm-hmm. What's the waiting period like for you? Waiting to get results?
I have the benefit of that I'm employed. And so if I didn't pass the test, really very little in my life would change. I would still have my job. So I don't have that pressure that others have. So I didn't think about it all that much until 2 weeks ago when the Colorado Bar sent out that beta email.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Tell people about what happened, because it was really a weird story.
No, I'm here at home, and my wife, I hear the Michael, which means I'm in trouble. And she saw an email saying your bar exam results have been posted. And I thought, well, that's strange. That would come out so early. But we went online and looked, and there was a line that just said, please ignore, this has been a beta test. Well, my poor blood pressure went through the roof sitting there. Now, this time when we got the exam results, I thought at 8 o'clock in the morning that they would be posted, that I'd get an email. But there was no email. And I'm waiting, hitting refresh, refresh, refresh. Nothing happens. And finally, my secretary from the office calls and says, congratulations, you passed. She had gone to another website and found the results. So that's how I learned.
Welcome to the Colorado Bar, Mike, where we don't know what we're doing most of the time. Okay. So you get the results. Your secretary tells you. You shared the results with your family, right? What was their reaction?
Very happy. Everybody's happy, supportive. My wife is ecstatic, and I told everybody that I was taking the bar exam. My friends, people at the gym, people I met on the street, everybody knows. So if I didn't make it, I was going to wear it and have to tell people, no, wasn't successful.
Okay.
Which happens, right?
Yeah.
It absolutely happens. So I'm just glad that it worked out.
Yeah, I'm glad too. Of course, I think, once you pass the bar, you should come to Disney World, but I'm just saying. I
brought her. I was there for 2 nights after the bar exam.
There you go. All right, cool. So now results are in, you've passed. As you look back on the process, what advice would you give somebody who's in practice, who's been away from the bar for a long time and is now contemplating a change, a move, some reason that makes them have to take the bar exam?
Well, 2 bits of advice. One is that it is doable. There's a lot of attorneys that I talk to who say, oh, I could never take another bar exam. It's just too daunting to even contemplate. But it is, you can do it. And the key is just get started early. Mm-hmm. And that's what your course provides, is that you can start years in advance practically, or at least certainly months in advance, where I started in March, and it could go a little bit at a time, as opposed to Barbary and Kaplan and all those other ones where they don't really start until law school graduates in the end of May, right? And then they go hardcore for all of June and July. Your course offered a much better program for somebody who's fully employed.
Great. So yeah,
it was very helpful.
Good. And I think then the other part of this is how well you balanced out your responsibilities. I mean, you continued to run your practice and you studied. I think sometimes people feel like it's all or nothing. I either have to study all the time or work all the time. I can't do both. It is possible to balance them out, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you would provide a lot of, aside from the information about how to study for the bar and the course material, you provide a lot of videos, background information that helps people just get on with their life. And I really appreciate like the days leading up to the test videos that you would provide. Those were all very helpful for just the psyche. I appreciate you're a man of faith. I appreciated those types of comments. I appreciated the insights, the jokes, everything that you would provide.
I think it helps that you and I probably both grew up watching the same set of television shows.
Absolutely.
Yes. You know, the 24-year-olds just give me the bovine stare and go, I have no idea what that reference was. None.
Yeah, every time I'd hear dinosaurs roam the earth, I'm thinking, well, I was right there with you. You and I graduated about the exact same time. So
yeah.
You were at Georgetown, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm Hastings. So basically, I think
I couldn't get into Hastings. So there you go.
Georgetown. I know some people. I probably know some folks who graduated from your class who went from my high school to Georgetown. But anyway.
Yeah, it was a little tiny law school. You know, just several thousand of us. We were just really tight and friendly and fun. So you know, it's an interesting experience. But I think that one of the great things is seeing practicing attorneys who've been successful before, putting themselves on the line, going out to do something, because it's a life change for you. Moving to Colorado is certainly a life change. And, you know, taking the challenge of studying and putting yourself back in that environment. Intellectually, was it interesting to you to come back in and be doing something that was different than your daily practice areas in terms of study?
Yes, absolutely. Particularly learning some of the subjects like con law.
Yeah.
I've been away from that for so long, and I enjoyed that. Even though initially, when I started first doing the practice questions, I was horrible in those. I was getting crushed in those. But that's one where I saw a lot of development come over a period of time and got much, much better at it. And one recommendation I'd have is read the Constitution. You would reference article this and article that. It really came together when I actually sat down and spent 20 minutes, read the Constitution, cleared up quite a bit.
Yeah, sometimes going to the source material like the Federal Rules of Evidence or Federal Rules of Civil Procedure or the Constitution actually does make a difference. You're like, oh, that's really? It's easier to read it than to explain it sometimes. So yeah, I think that's good advice. You know, I was really impressed with the way that you just were no drama. You just did what you had to do. You participated in the activities that we had, the group coaching calls, the webinars. You did your work. You were supportive and kept a really great attitude all the way through. And so it certainly wasn't a surprise to hear that you passed, but I know everybody on our team was really excited about it and excited for you. And I just really appreciate that you would share your story, and tell people about this. Do you have any final words you would like to share with anybody? Thoughts, ideas, suggestions for folks?
I would tell people to stick with the syllabus. Right? That syllabus that you have is magic. And if you just stick with the plan, I trusted you, Jackson, wholeheartedly. I bought in 100% on your program and followed it to the T, and it paid off. So
Thanks.
That would be my recommendation to anybody taking the bar is follow your program, and it works.
Well, thanks. It's really been fun to talk to you today, Mike, and I want to just wish you all the best in your move. I hope you enjoy Colorado Springs. It's beautiful, as you know, and it's a great place. Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, take the narrow. I mean, yeah, there's so many things.
It's a great.
Yeah, it's a wonderful place, and you know, as you walk around the lake at the Broadmoor, there's a little hut out there. That's where I used to hang out. So, in any event,
I'll look for the AM there somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere. I probably scratched it in one or two trees. So, congratulations! Thank you again for showing everybody here and sharing with them your story. And we'll look forward to seeing you on our Facebook group as an ongoing contributor to our students that are coming along. Wish you well on everything that's ahead for you and this great opportunity. And thanks to all of you. Yeah, thanks to all of you in the audience for being with us again today. We appreciate it. So much fun to do these interviews, and we'll say goodbye for now. Bye-bye, everybody.